Now, Lenin saw the house of the Romanovs as monarchist filth. That fucking monarchist filth. A 300-year disgrace. That's what old Lenin. Oh, Lenin. That's what he said about old Nicholas Romanov. Old Nicholas Romanov and his entire Romanov established his entire Romanov dynasty. Referred to Nicholas too in conversation and in his writings as the most evil enemy of the Russian people, a bloody executioner, an Asiatic gendarme, and a crown robber. The most evil enemy of the Russian people, a bloody executioner, Asiatic gendarme, a crown robber. So, if I'm Nicholas Romanov, I'd watch out for Lenin. November 1st, 1919, the Ukrainian government approved laws about the state language of Ukrainian, and about the autocephaly of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church that were adopted by the Directorate of the Ukraine, the head of the new Ukrainian People's Republic, the Directorate of the Ukraine, Vladimir Vinichenko. Vladimir Vinichenko, oh, Vladimir Vinichenko. January 2nd, 1919, the Bolsheviks organized an uprising in Kharkiv. Local council of German soldiers supported the Bolshevik uprising, gave the Ukrainian forces an ultimatum to leave the city. January 3rd, 1919, the Red Army occupies Kharkiv. The next day, the army group of Kursk direction was reformed into the Ukrainian front. This is Stalin. This is fucking Stalin. So Stalin, got some of the Bolsheviks in Kharkiv to do an uprising. Then they came in and marched on Kharkiv. January 4th, 1919. So I guess you could always kind of expect that, right? You're going to invade a city, but there's always opponents of the current regime. And so, your enemy's enemy is your friend. So when you go in, there could be... that's nice, right? If you're a Bolshevik revolutionary, you're going to go into a city, even if you're against a democratic socialist, there's still going to be some Bolsheviks in the bunch. January 4th, 1919, Stalin and the Ukrainian front begins the Siege of Azov. The Siege of Azov, isn't that what old fucking capitalist, imperialist, homophobic fuckface is doing right now? The Siege of Azov. There's a siege of Azov back in 1637, April 3,000 Don Cossacks and 4,000 Zaporozhian Cossacks besieged Azov. The Azov battalion, the siege of Azov. So Stalin went ahead and did a siege of Azov. And then you had the Don Cossacks and the Zaporozhian Cossacks. They besieged Azov. And now you got Putin sieging Azov. What is up with this fucking Azov, The Azov battalion, right? And that the Ukrainian government approved land reform that was adopted by the Directorate on January 8th. So on January 5th, 1919, they approved the land reform, and it was adopted by the Directorate 3 days later. So if you got a Ukrainian government who's democratic and socialist, who's giving you land, peace, and bread, you already got your land and your peace and your fucking bread from this government, the Central Rada. Or no, the Directorate. The Central Rada is no more. It's the Directorate. But look what Vladimir Vinichenko is doing. He's saying, why would you want to be a Bolshevik? Why would you want to be a Bolshevik? We're giving you peace, land, and bread. We're giving you democracy. We're giving you more. We're giving you more than what they're offering. Plus, we're from your area. These damn Bolsheviks are going to do a Holodomor. I'm telling you, they're going to do a Holodomor. That's what I would say if I was around in 1919 Ukraine. Do not trust these Bolshevik motherfuckers. They're going to do a Holodomor in, 13 years or so from now. January 6, 1919, the government of Pyatakov officially declared the creation of the Ukrainian Socialist Soviet Republic, the USSR. The first USSR? Wait a second. What are you saying? Yeah, kind of. Ukrainian Socialist Soviet Republic, though. January 6, So Ukraine started the first national Ukrainian, Ukrainian Socialist Democrat. Ukrainians are beginning social, the democratic socialism and communist and Soviets. What the fuck? Ukraine is like, it's not little Russia. Fucking Russia's little Ukraine. January 7th, 1919, the Bolsheviks invaded Ukraine in full force with an army led by Vladimir Antonov. Ovsyanko, Joseph Stalin, and Vladimir Zhitansky. Fucking Zhitansky. What happened to you, Zhitansky? You got that fat face and that upturned nose? Fucking Zhitansky. Fucking Zhitansky. So Stalin's Blitzkrieg, January 7th, 1919. January 7th to 10th, 1919. 15 young Jewish neighbors were killed when they came to defend other Jewish neighbors. A Christian student, Nicholas Blynov, also tried to defend. This is a pogrom in Zhytomyr. Zhytomyr. 10 Jews from nearby Chudnov were also killed when they were on their way to aid the Jews of Zhytomyr. So 15 young Jewish neighbors are going to get killed in Zhytomyr, and then so this is a pogrom. This is a pogrom that happened in Ukraine. Is this under Stalin's watch? Is this because of Stalin? Is Stalin going to be, I don't know what the relationship is, but he's going around killing a lot of people, and now you got some, mini Holocaust. You got these tiny little Holocausts, that are happening. February 14th, 1919, another pogrom of Proskuriv. On February 14th, 1919, and there was 911 listed deaths, which Wiedlinger estimates is 1/3 of the actual total. So what the fuck? Proskuriv? Where is Proskuriv at? God damn. Proskuriv, Ukraine. So the history of the Jews in Proskuriv by Diana Vasco-Boynik. Khmelnytsky. Is that, some reason they got the Khmelnytsky popped up here. I guess this is a lot of information. It's not, February 15th, 1919, the Proskuriv pogrom is going to take place during the Ukrainian War of Independence. Now Khmelnytsky, okay. So in the city of Khmelnytsky, which was Proskuriv, which was taken over from under the Bolshevik, controlled by militants who claimed themselves to be the Haidamaks. In mere 3.5 hours, at least 1,500 Jews were murdered, up to 1,700 by other estimates, and more than 1,000 wounded, including women, children, and the old. The massacres carried out by the Ukrainian People's Republic soldiers of Ivan Semesenko. Oh, fuck. That's not good for Ukraine. That is not good for Ukraine. I'm not going to actually. I didn't know that Lenin and Trotsky and all the rest of them were Jewish. So I feel like I didn't know about it, but I'm trying to understand the mentality of why would you say, well, it's those Jewish people over there. Can't stand fucking Hitler. You want to be dumb, religious, dumb motherfuckers? I'm going to mock you and say you're stupid. But you get to live. You get to live. You have freedom of religion. So this is unfortunate. What the fuck, Ukraine, huh? The Hadimakas, they're the impoverished noblemen in the eastern part of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Something about Muscovy, Treaty of Perpetual Peace, older Ukrainian terms. The Haydamak. It's a pejorative label for Ukrainians as a whole. Haydamak was mostly the free Cossacks. I think we're going to have to move on here in a second. Yeah. So, okay, what's up with the Haidamaks? And was this the directorate? They're saying it's the Ukrainian People's Republic. There is either the directorate or the Central Rada. Right now, I think the Central Rada has been no more, so it'd be the directorate. The director, this had been that Vinichenko. Well, Vinichenko! What's up with these pogroms, Vinichenko? What the fuck is up with these pogroms? Here's Ivan Semesenko. They said he was involved in the anti-Jewish pogroms in Ukraine, for which he was executed. So, who's going to kill him? That's interesting, right? He was arrested by the Polish police at the Czechoslovakian border, handed over to the Ukrainian authorities. So the Ukrainian authorities are going to kill this motherfucker in January 17th? No, April. 1920. In 1920. So, you know, it had a happy ending, right? Ivan Semesenko. So the Proskuriv pogrom, they said that the military band just walked up and said, kill the Jews to save Ukraine, you got to kill the Jews or something. And they just chanted that until, woo, this is tough to read. All right, we got some names and dates. Let's keep it moving, keep it moving, keep it moving. Fucking pogrom, okay, fucking shit. I'm not going to put it on the Bolsheviks, but I will put it that the Bolsheviks, you know, started a bunch of fucking crazy shit with their crazy shenanigans. You didn't want to do the Constituent Assembly. You didn't want to do election and democracies. Why? Because you came in second place the first fucking, you know, tally. You fucking loser motherfuckers. Well, if you don't want us to be in charge, we'll just take power. That's why you lost the election. They were afraid you're just going to fucking say you're a goddamn fascist fuck anyways. Yet as government Pyatakhovs continued to stay in curse. Okay, so the government of Pyatakov officially declared the creation of the Ukrainian Socialist Soviet Republic, yet his government, Pyatakhovs, continued to stay in Kursk until January 24th. January 7th, 1919, the Bolsheviks invaded Ukraine in full force with an army led by, Vladimir Zatansky. Let's see here. The pogrom. January 16th, this is out of order. But the Directorate declared war once against Russia after several preliminary ultimatums to the Russian SFSR's Savnarkom to withdraw their troops. The two main directions of the Bolshevik forces were onto Kiev and Kharkiv. So we got some more January things here. Let me put this pogrom. This is on February 14th. So, yeah, Valentine's Day. Terrible Valentine's Day. And there's another entry there we're going to... Okay, so more information coming up. January 22nd, 1919, during that time, is proclaimed the Unification Act of the two Ukraines. We're going to see the Western Ukraine and Eastern Ukraine. They're going to become one, the Ukrainian Republic. And so the Unification Act of the two Ukraines happened on January 22nd, 1919. The West Ukraine unites, and then eventually they're going to get exiled, and then they're going to collapse. So this was terrible for Western Ukraine in the long run. But at the time, the Western Ukrainian People's Republic had emerged as a breakaway state amid the dissolution of the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, and in January 1919, nominally united with the Ukrainian People's Republic as its autonomous Western Oblast. Poland had also claimed this territory and by July occupied most of it and forced the West Ukrainian government into exile when the UPR decided late the same year that it would trade the territory for an alliance with Poland against Soviet Russia. The exiled West Ukrainian government broke with the UPR. The exiled government continued its claim until it dissolved in 1923. The coat of arms of the Western Ukrainian People's Republic was azure, a golden lion rampant. The colors of the flag were blue and yellow. January 23rd to 28th, 1919, the Directorate, its authority was extended by the Labor Congress of Ukraine. On January 23rd to the 28th, Vladimir Vinichenko, this is before the pogroms, but he's the chairman, he's the chairman November 14th, 1918 to February 11th, 1919. Wait a second. Vinichenko is not the chairman on February 11th, 1919. You cannot put the damn pogrom on Vinichenko. Something happened. We're going to get to it, but something happened. So, okay, Vladimir Vinichenko, your name did not disappoint. Simon Petlura, SDEC delegate of the Sikh Riflemen. He was the chairman afterwards. Okay, so this is going to be on Simon Petlura. And then, again, they're going to kill the Ukrainian authorities. Are going to kill the fucking guy that did this. So, I don't know if you could put it on any of the groups of anybody. Not the Bolsheviks, not the Ukrainians. It was that fucking guy. He fucking did it. February to June 1919 in Kharkov, there were between 2,000 to 3,000 executions. This is the Red Terror. So the Red Terror, they're just being paranoid and schizophrenic as fuck. So they're just kind of killing anybody and everybody that's not, just totally in line with the Bolsheviks. What? Did you have shifty eyes, boy? Don't you have shifty eyes, boy? February to August 1919 in Kiev, at least 3,000 in February to August 1990 were killed. The Red Terror against political enemies or perceived political enemies. So 2 to 3,000. These aren't just the enemies of the revolution. These aren't the enemies of the Bolsheviks. These are just 2 to 3,000 executions of just Lenin got shot a year or two ago, and then they've been fucking paranoid like crazy motherfuckers ever since. So, in Kharkiv, there's 2 to 3,000 executions. In Kiev, there was at least 3,000 executions from the February to August 1919 period. February 3rd, 1919, the Bolsheviks' Red Army take Kiev. Again, the Bolsheviks are going to take Kiev. They keep taking Kiev, losing Kiev, taking Kiev. February 3rd, 1919, they took Kiev again. February 10th, 1919, we're going to find out what happened to Vladimir Vinichenko, unable to restore order to overcome his disagreement with Petliura. He stepped down February 10th, 1919, immigrated abroad in a brief period in Vienna in 1920. He wrote 3 volumes, Rebirth of the Nation. He really loved Ukraine. At the same time, at the end of 1919, Vinichenko resigned from the Ukrainian Social Democratic Labor Party, and he formed the Foreign Group of Ukrainian Communists. Ukrainian Communist? Damn, man. He finally broke down. He was like, well, shit. I should have just said the Bolsheviks were in charge. I should have just accepted it. February 14th, 1919. So, because of his disagreement, Simon Petliura, and now, the pogrom of Proskuriv isn't going to go on Vinichenko's head. It's going to fall on Simon Petliura, if anybody's responsible. It's the sick rifleman. The Warriors! The Warriors did it! February 14th, 1919, the pogrom of Proskuriv. February 14th, 911 listed deaths. And that was just 1/3. So probably 3,000. God damn. We barely began 1919. Already 20 minutes in. February 15th, 1919, the pogrom in Proskuriv is taking place, led by Ottoman Semesenko on his own initiative. February 15th, 1919, this is soon after the fall of the Hetmanate, 2 weeks after Petliura orders denouncing the event were published in the newspapers because of a difficult situation. The execution of Semesenko was postponed until November 1920. Several former Ukrainian officers testified for the prosecution. So Petliura is going to denounce the event, but he was the one that was in charge immediately, upon. So Semesenko, he was just doing it on his own accord for no fucking apparent reason. Semesenko was just like, you know what, I'm just going to go. Semesenko just had to go fucking full-blown Hitler for, a day or two. For some reason, March 1919, early 1919, there's a number of attacks on Trotsky's leadership of the Red Army, including veiled accusations and newspaper articles inspired by Stalin, a direct attack by the military opposition at the 8th Party Congress in March 1919. On the surface, Trotsky weathered the verbal, insults, criticisms successfully. He was elected one of the only 5 full members of the first Politburo after the Congress, but he later wrote, "It was no wonder that my military work created so many enemies for me. I did not look to the side. I elbowed away those who interfered with military success or in the haste of the work, trod on the toes of the unheeding, and was too busy even to apologize. Some people remember such things. The dissatisfied and those whose feelings had been hurt found their way to Stalin or Zinoviev, for these two also nourished hurts." March the 2nd, 1919, you're going to have the Third International, or is it the International? It's the International, okay. I'm Caleb, what's his face? It's the International. That happens March 2nd, 1919, the Third International. March 7th, Sverdlov died March 1919 during the Spanish flu at the age of 33, was buried in the Kremlin wall. Necropolis, the city of Yekaterinburg, was renamed Sverdlovsk in 1924 in his honor. Trotsky is postponed to the Southern Front. He's posted, not postponed. So Sverdlov is going to die during the Spanish flu at the tender age of 33. Sverdlov. I think he had something to do with the order to kill the Romanovs. He's also the order to kill Fanny, right? The attempted assassin. He's going to get a city, Yekaterinburg. Is that where they got isn't that where they killed the Romanovs? I don't know. March 16th, 1919, all military detachments of the Cheka were combined into a single body, the Troops for the Internal Defense of the Republic, which numbered 200,000 in 1921. These troops policed labor camps, ran the Gulag system, conducted Prodraziorska requisitions of food. Wow, that's awesome. The Cheka stealing food. I thought the communists were here to peace, land, and bread, not to steal peace, land, and bread. No, we were going to take your peace, land, and bread. You thought we were going to give you peace, land, and bread? In a speech March 18th, 1919, Vladimir Lenin praised Sverdlov and his contributions to the revolution. Lenin called Sverdlov the most perfectly complete type of professional revolutionary ever created by. It's like the good Lord smiled on him and said, "You're the best communist revolutionary of all time." March 22nd, 1919. I want to say that the Zaitofor pogrom beginning, March 22nd, 1919, there was 317 deaths due to both the Christian sheltering. So it stopped. Would have been fewer. Okay, god damn these sentences. So the way I'm understanding this sentence is Christian sheltering. Christians helped to shelter the Jews, and the Bolshevik troops returned. When the Bolshevik troops returned, then the pogrom stopped. So the Bolsheviks weren't ordering them, they were very much stopping the pogroms. Or at least the Zaitofor pogrom. March 24th, Trotsky abandons the siege and attacks the city head-on with infantry and artillery. April 8th, 1919, Bolsheviks expel allies from Odessa. April 12th, Azov is under Soviet control. Resistance ends as the remainder of the White Army retreats across the Black Sea to Turkey. April 3rd, 1919, the implementation of the Bolshevik rule in Ukraine was followed by repression. The Bolsheviks favored the proletariat over the peasantry. So April 13th, the Ukrainian Soviet government implemented food requisitioning in order to supply its urban centers, shooting any peasants that resisted, which caused a resurgence of peasant revolts in Ukraine. So you got to, help the workers. The peasants aren't even working, right? The workers working, they're making stuff. The peasants, give your food up, you damn peasant. The Cheka also carried out its Red Terror in the areas controlled by the Bolsheviks, with the residents of Katerinoslav reporting arbitrary political persecution, increased economic hardship. Regiments of the Red Army even began to commit robberies against the local population, carried out a number of anti-Semitic pogroms as part of a rising wave of violence against Ukrainian Jews that was perpetuated by the Reds, Whites, and Nationalists alike. In comparison to the surrounding states, the Muskanovashina represented a relatively peaceful model given the ethnically diverse makeup of. This is Nestor Maka. What's his name? Last name Nestor. The movement of Nestor Makanov, who severely punished acts of anti-Semitism. So Nestor was against, anti-Semitism. I would assume the Bolsheviks were against anti-Semitism. The Ukrainian authorities were against anti-Semitism. So they just might put it all on that one fucking guy. And it might have been just him. Or it could have been like Vietnam, where they just blame the one guy who gets house arrest and then, pardoned. It's all his fault, but, you get out of here, you. Wait a second. I thought you said he was the one that killed it. Yeah. So, basically, that was emblematic of the whole operation, right? You all were a bunch of fucking butchering sons of bitches, right? Let's get to June. There's 2,200 executions in Odessa from May to August 1919 by the Red Terror. In May 1919, Stalin was dispatched to the Western Front near Petrograd to stem mass desertions and defections of Red Army soldiers. Stalin had deserters and renegades rounded up and publicly executed as traitors. May the 20th, the Polar Expedition Force starts to evacuate after the ice melts and the harbor is freed. The Northern White Army retreats along with them, realizing that without two fronts and foreign support, they are vulnerable. June 17th, evacuation is complete. The Red Guard captures Arkhangelsk. Looks like Archangelsk. The Civil War largely over. Fanatics still hidden in major populated areas. Cheka expanded to root them out. June 25th, meanwhile, the Volunteer Army of the Donbass region was also able to go over the offensive, managing to take Kharkiv on June 25th. June 28th, 1919 is the Treaty of Versailles. It's officially signed June 28th, 1919, and it's going to take effect January 10th. So in 6 months, right? I thought the war was already over with the armistice. Okay, we got the Treaty of Versailles, which Hitler said was a betrayal. June 30th, on the eastern end of the AFSR's front, the Caucasian Army under Baron Peter Wrangel captured Sardizin on June 30th. Despite the AFSR's successes in the summer and autumn of 1919, its rear was beset by rampant corruption among administrators, anti-white revolts among various ethnic groups, and ethnic uprisings, pogroms against Jews, political infighting between the white generals and the Cossack leaders. By the end of June 1919, Denikin controlled the whole of the Don region. Denikin and his army continued its rapid advance. His forces had first spread across Ukraine and South Russia. Then they had pressed northward. In Moscow, Lenin became increasingly anxious about the defense of the city. Kamenev, the commander-in-chief, had prepared a plan concentrating strong Red forces to make a flank attack from the east. A second plan prepared earlier by Vatsedis, in which Trotsky subsequently claimed as his own work, proposed that the armies of the South Front strike due south against Denikin's forces. The Central Committee had approved Kamenev's plan. The Red Army's flank attack failed completely to halt the White advance. Disturbed by this failure, Kamenev reviewed his strategy, recommended that while maintaining pressure on the enemy from the east, strong forces of reserve should be concentrated south of Moscow. The response of Lenin and the Central Committee was a striking expression of their confidence in Kamenev. He was told not to consider himself bound by his former recommendations or by any previous decisions of the Central Committee, and that he had full powers as a military specialist to take whatever measures he thought fit. July 1919, no more Western Ukraine. The Ukrainian national government of the West Ukrainian People's Republic is no more. They said that it stayed de facto independent until July 1919. So I'm not for sure exactly what happened in July 1919, but that's the end of the West Ukraine. This is half of 1919. The second half of 1919 coming up.